Then the Lord called Moses and spoke to him from the tabernacle of the testimony, saying, "Speak to the sons of Israel, and you shall say to them, the man among you who will offer to the Lord a sacrifice from the cattle, that is, an offering of victims of oxen or sheep, if his offering will be a holocaust, as well as from the herd, he shall offer an immaculate male at the door of the tabernacle of the testimony to make himself pleasing to the Lord, and he shall place his hand on the head of the sacrifice. And so it shall be acceptable and effective in its expiation. And he shall immolate the calf in the sight of the Lord, and the priests, the sons of Aaron, shall offer its blood, pouring it all around the altar, which is before the door of the tabernacle. And having pulled away the skin of the victim, they shall cut up the joints into pieces, and they shall toss fire under the altar, having arranged beforehand a stack of wood. And they shall lay the parts which are cut up in order upon it, namely the head, and all the things that are joined to the liver, the intestines, and feet, having been washed with water. And the priest shall burn them on the altar as a holocaust, and as a sweet odor to the Lord. But if the offering is from the flocks, a holocaust either of sheep or goats, he shall offer a male without blemish, and he shall immolate it at the side of the altar which looks out toward the north, in the sight of the Lord. Yet truly the sons of Aaron shall pour its blood upon the altar all around, and they shall divide the limbs, the head, and everything that are joined to the liver, and they shall place them on the wood under which the fire is to be thrown. Yet truly the intestines and the feet they shall wash with water, and the priest, having offered everything, shall burn it upon the altar as a holocaust and as a most sweet odor to the Lord. But if the oblation of a holocaust to the Lord is of birds, either of turtle doves or young pigeons, the priest shall offer it at the altar, and twisting back the neck with the head, and also rupturing the place of the wound, he shall make the blood run down over the edge of the altar. Yet truly the craw of the throat and the feathers he shall cast near the altar at the eastern section, in the place where the ashes are usually poured out. And he shall break its wing joints, but he shall neither cut nor divide it with metal, and he shall burn it upon the altar, placing fire under the wood. It is a holocaust and an oblation of a most sweet odor to the Lord. When a soul will offer an oblation of sacrifice to the Lord, his oblation shall be of fine wheat flour, and he shall pour oil over it, and he shall set down frankincense, and he shall bring it to the sons of Aaron, the priests. One of them shall take a handful of the flour with oil, as well as all the frankincense, and he shall place it as a memorial upon the altar, as a most sweet odor to the Lord. Then what will remain of the sacrifice shall be for Aaron and his sons, the Holy of Holies, from the oblations of the Lord. But when you will offer a sacrifice baked in the oven from fine wheat flour, specifically loaves without leaven, sprinkled with oil, and unleavened wafers, rubbed with oil, if your oblation will be from the frying pan, of flour tempered with oil and without leaven, you shall divide it into little pieces and pour oil over it. But if the sacrifice will be from the oven grating, equally the fine wheat flour shall be sprinkled with oil. When you are offering it to the Lord, you shall deliver it into the hands of the priest, and when he has offered it, he shall take a memorial from the sacrifice and burn it upon the altar as a sweet odor to the Lord. But whatever is left shall be for Aaron and his sons, the Holy of Holies from the oblations of the Lord. Every oblation that is offered to the Lord shall be made without leaven, neither shall any leaven or honey be burned with the sacrifice to the Lord. You shall offer only the firstfruits of these along with the gifts. Yet truly, these shall not be placed upon the altar as an odor of sweetness. Whatever sacrifice you will offer, you shall season it with salt. Neither shall you take away the salt of the covenant of your God from your sacrifice. In all your oblations you shall offer salt. And so shall you offer your firstfruits to the Lord, pouring oil over it and imposing frankincense, because it is an oblation of the Lord. From this the priest shall burn, as a memorial of the gift, a portion of the cracked grain and the oil, as well as all of the frankincense. But if his oblation will be a sacrifice of peace offerings, and he wishes to offer it from the oxen, whether male or female, he shall offer what is immaculate in the sight of the Lord, and he shall place his hand upon the head of his victim, which shall be immolated at the entrance of the tabernacle of the testimony. And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall pour the blood all around the altar, and they shall offer from the sacrifice of peace offerings as an oblation to the Lord, the fat which covers the vital organs, and whatever fat is interior, the 2 kidneys with the fat that covers the sides, and the mesh of the liver with the 2 little kidneys. And they shall burn them upon the altar as a holocaust, placing fire under the wood as an oblation of a most sweet odor to the Lord. Yet truly, if his oblation and the sacrifice of peace offerings will be from the sheep, whether he will offer a male or a female, they shall be immaculate. If he will offer a lamb in the sight of the Lord, he shall place his hand upon the head of the victim, and it shall be immolated at the vestibule of the tabernacle of the testimony. And the sons of Aaron shall pour its blood all around the altar, and they shall offer from the victim of peace offerings as a sacrifice to the Lord the fat and the entire rump with the kidneys, and the fat that covers the abdomen and all the vital organs, and both the little kidneys with the fat that is near the sides, and the mesh of the liver with the little kidneys. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar as fuel for the fire, and as an oblation of the Lord. If his oblation will be a goat, and he will offer it to the Lord, he shall place his hand upon its head, and he shall immolate it at the entrance of the tabernacle of the testimony. And the sons of Aaron shall pour its blood all around the altar, and they shall take from it to feed the Lord's fire, the fat which covers the abdomen, and that which covers all the vital organs, the 2 little kidneys with the mesh that is over them near the sides, and the fat of the liver with the little kidneys. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar as nourishment for the fire, and as a most sweet odor. All the fat shall be for the Lord by a perpetual law. In your generations and in all of your habitations, neither blood nor fat shall you eat at all. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Say to the sons of Israel, the soul which will have sinned through ignorance, and concerning any of the commandments of the Lord that he instructed not to be done, if anything at all has been done, if the priest who is anointed will have sinned, causing the people to commit a transgression, he shall offer to the Lord for his sin an immaculate calf, and he shall lead it to the door of the tabernacle of the testimony in the sight of the Lord, and he shall place his hand upon its head, and he shall immolate it to the Lord. Likewise, he shall take from the blood of the calf, carrying it into the tabernacle of the testimony, and having dipped his finger into the blood, he shall sprinkle it 7 times in the sight of the Lord, opposite the veil of the sanctuary. And he shall place some of the same blood over the horns of the altar of most pleasing incense to the Lord, which is in the tabernacle of the testimony. Then he shall pour out the remainder of the blood at the base of the altar of holocaust, at the entrance of the tabernacle. And on behalf of the sin, he shall take the fat of the calf, both that which covers the vital organs and all that is interior, the 2 little kidneys, and the mesh that is on them near the sides, and the fat of the liver with the little kidneys, just as it is taken from the calf of the sacrifice of peace offerings. And he shall burn them upon the altar of holocaust. Yet truly, the skin and all the flesh, with the head and the feet, and the intestines, and the dung, and the remainder of the body, he shall carry away beyond the camp to the clean place where the ashes are usually poured out, and he shall burn them upon a stack of wood. There, in the place where the ashes have been poured out, they will be burned. But if all the crowd of Israel will have been ignorant, and through inexperience will have done what is contrary to the commandment of the Lord, and afterwards shall understand their sin, they shall offer a calf on behalf of their sin, and they shall lead it to the door of the tabernacle, and the elders of the people shall place their hands upon its head in the sight of the Lord. And when the calf has been immolated in the sight of the Lord, the priest who is anointed shall carry some of its blood into the tabernacle of the testimony, and he shall dip his finger in it, sprinkling it 7 times opposite the veil, and he shall place some of the same blood on the horns of the altar, which is in the presence of the Lord in the tabernacle of the testimony. But the remainder of the blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of holocaust, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the testimony, and he shall take all its fat and burn it upon the altar, doing so with this calf in the same manner as he did before. And while the priest is praying for them, the Lord will forgive them. But the calf itself he shall carry away beyond the camp, and he shall also burn it, just as with the previous calf, because it is for the sin of the multitude. If a leader will have sinned, and through ignorance will have done one of the many things which the law of the Lord prohibits, and afterwards he shall understand his sin, he shall offer an immaculate he-goat from among the goats as a sacrifice to the Lord, and he shall place his hand upon its head. And when he will have immolated it in the place where the holocaust is usually slain, in the sight of the Lord, because it is for sin, the priest shall dip his finger in the blood of the victim for sin, touching the horns of the altar of holocaust, and pouring out the remainder at its base. Yet truly the fat he shall burn upon it, just as is usually done with the victims of peace offerings. And the priest shall pray for him and for his sin, and he shall be released from it. But if a soul from the people of the land will have sinned through ignorance, so as to have done any of those things that the law of the Lord prohibits, and so commit a transgression, and he shall realize his sin, he shall offer an immaculate she-goat, and he shall place his hand upon the head of the victim, which is for sin, and he shall immolate it in the place of the holocaust. And the priest shall take some of the blood with his finger, and touching the horns of the altar of holocaust, he shall pour out the remainder at its base, but taking away all the fat, just as it is usually taken away from the victims of peace offerings, he shall burn it upon the altar as a sweet odor to the Lord. And he shall pray for him, and he shall be released from it. But if instead he will offer from the flock a victim for his sin, specifically an immaculate female sheep, he shall place his hand upon its head, and he shall immolate it in the place where the victims of holocausts are usually slain. And the priest shall take some of its blood with his finger, and touching the horns of the altar of holocaust, he shall pour out the remainder at its base. Likewise, all of the fat shall be taken away, just as the fat of the ram, which is immolated for peace offerings, is usually taken away. And he shall burn it upon the altar as an incense of the Lord, and he shall pray for him and for his sin, and he shall be released from it. If a soul will have sinned, and heard the voice of one testifying under oath, and he is a witness because either he has seen it himself, or he is aware of it, if he does not reveal it, he shall carry his iniquity. The soul that will have touched anything unclean, either that which has been killed by a beast, or that which has died on its own, or any other creeping thing, and will have forgotten its uncleanness, he is guilty and has committed a transgression. And if he will have touched anything from the uncleanness of man, according to every kind of impurity by which he may be defiled, and having forgotten it, afterwards realizes it, he shall be guilty of committing a transgression. The soul who swears and offers from his own lips that he would do either evil or good, and who will have bound the same with an oath and with his own words, and having forgotten it, afterwards understands his transgression, let him do penance for his sin, and let him offer from the flocks a female lamb or a she-goat, and the priest shall pray for him and for his sin. But if he is not able to offer a beast, let him offer 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons to the Lord, one for sin, and the other for a holocaust. And he shall give them to the priest, who, offering the first for sin, shall twist back its head to the little wings, so that it adheres to the neck and is not entirely broken off. And he shall sprinkle some of its blood at the side of the altar. But whatever will remain, he shall cause it to drip down to the base, because it is for sin. Yet truly, the other he shall burn as a holocaust, just as is usually done. And the priest shall pray for him and for his sin, and he shall be released from it. But if his hand is unable to offer 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, he shall offer for his sin the 10th part of an ephah of fine wheat flour. He shall not put oil in it, nor place upon it any frankincense, because it is for sin. And he shall deliver it to the priest, who shall take a handful of it, and shall burn it upon the altar as a memorial for him who offered it, praying for him and making atonement. Yet truly, the remaining part he himself shall have as a gift. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, If a soul, by mistake, shall have transgressed the ceremonies in those things that are sanctified to the Lord, he shall offer for his offense an immaculate ram from the flocks, such as can be bought for 2 shekels, according to the weight of the sanctuary. And he shall make restitution for the damage that he has brought, and he shall add a 5th part more, delivering it to the priest, who shall pray for him while offering the ram, and he shall be released from it. If a soul will have sinned through ignorance, and will have done one of those things which the law of the Lord prohibits, and being guilty of sin, understands his iniquity, he shall offer from the flocks an immaculate ram to the priest according to the measure and estimation of the sin, who shall pray for him, because he did it unknowingly, and he shall be released from it, because by mistake he transgressed against the Lord. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, The soul who will have sinned, and despising the Lord, will have denied to his neighbor the deposit which he had entrusted to his safekeeping, or who will have extorted anything by force, or who will have made a false accusation, or who will have found a lost thing, and then also withheld it by swearing falsely, or who will have done any other of the many things by which men usually sin. Being convicted of the offense, he shall restore all that he wanted to obtain by fraud, the whole plus an additional 5th part, to the owner against whom he brought the damage. Then, on behalf of his sin, he shall offer an immaculate ram from the flock, and he shall give it to the priest, according to the estimation and measure of the offense, and he shall pray for him in the sight of the Lord, and he shall be released from any one of those things that he did when he sinned. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Instruct Aaron and his sons. This is the law of a holocaust. It shall be burned upon the altar all night until morning. The fire shall be from the same altar. The priest shall be vested with the tunic and the linen undergarments, and he shall take up the ashes of that which the devouring fire has consumed, and placing them next to the altar, he shall strip off his former vestments, and being clothed with others, he shall carry them beyond the camp, and he shall cause them to be consumed, even to glowing embers, in a very clean place. But the fire on the altar shall burn always, for the priest shall nourish it by placing wood under it each day in the morning. And laying down the holocaust, he shall burn the fat of the peace offerings upon it. This is the perpetual fire which shall never fail upon the altar. This is the law of the sacrifice and the libations, which the sons of Aaron shall offer in the sight of the Lord, and before the altar. The priest shall take a handful of fine wheat flour, which has been sprinkled with oil, and all the frankincense which has been placed upon the flour, and he shall burn it upon the altar as a memorial of most sweet odor to the Lord. And the remaining portion of the flour Aaron shall eat with his sons, without leaven, and he shall eat it in the holy place, in the atrium of the tabernacle. Yet for this reason it shall not be leavened, because part of it is offered as an incense of the Lord. The Holy of Holies shall it be, just as what is offered on behalf of sin and of transgression. Only the males of the stock of Aaron shall eat it. This shall be an everlasting ordinance in your generations concerning the sacrifices of the Lord. All who will touch these shall be sanctified. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This is the oblation of Aaron and of his sons, which they must offer to the Lord in the day of their anointing. They shall offer a 10th part of an ephah of fine wheat flour as a perpetual sacrifice, half of it in the morning and half of it in the evening. It shall be sprinkled with oil and fried in a frying pan. Then it shall be offered hot as a most sweet odor to the Lord by the priest who by law succeeds his father. And it shall be entirely burned on the altar. For every sacrifice of the priest shall be consumed by fire, neither shall anyone eat from it. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Say to Aaron and his sons, This is the law of the victim for sin. In the place where the holocaust is offered, it shall be immolated in the sight of the Lord. It is the Holy of Holies. The priest who offers it shall eat it in the holy place, in the atrium of the tabernacle. Whatever will touch its flesh shall be sanctified. If a garment will be sprinkled with its blood, it shall be washed in a holy place. Then the earthen vessel in which it was soaked shall be broken. But if the vessel will be of brass, it shall be scoured and washed with water. Every male of priestly descent shall feed on its flesh, because it is the Holy of Holies. For the victim that is slain for sin, whose blood is carried into the tabernacle of the testimony for expiation in the sanctuary, shall not be eaten, but it shall be consumed by fire. Likewise, this is the law of the sacrifice for a transgression. It is the Holy of Holies. Therefore, where the holocaust is immolated, the victim for a transgression shall also be slain. Its blood shall be poured out all around the altar. They shall offer from it the rump and the fat that covers the vital organs, the 2 little kidneys, and the fat that is near the sides, and the mesh of the liver with the little kidneys. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar. It is the incense of the Lord on behalf of a transgression. Every male of priestly descent shall feed on this flesh in a holy place, because it is the Holy of Holies. Just as the sacrifice for sin is offered, so also for a transgression. One law shall be for both sacrifices. It shall belong to the priest who offers it. The priest who offers the victim of holocaust shall have its skin. And every sacrifice of fine wheat flour which is baked in the oven, and whatever is prepared on the oven grating or in the frying pan, shall be for the priest who offers it. Whether these will be sprinkled with oil or left dry, an equal measure shall be divided to each one of the sons of Aaron. This is the law of the victim of peace offerings, which is offered to the Lord. If the oblation will be an act for giving thanks, they shall offer bread without leaven sprinkled with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil, and fine wheat flour fried, and cakes sprinkled and mixed with oil, and also leavened bread with the sacrifice of thanksgiving, which is immolated for peace offerings. Of these, one shall be offered to the Lord as the firstfruits, and one shall be for the priest who will pour out the blood of the victim. The flesh of it shall be eaten on the same day, neither shall any of it remain until morning. If anyone, by a vow or of his own accord, will have offered a sacrifice, it shall be eaten in a similar manner on the same day. But then, if any of it will have remained until tomorrow, it is lawful to eat it. Then whatever will be found on the 3rd day shall be consumed with fire. If anyone will have eaten from the flesh of the victim of peace offerings on the 3rd day, the oblation will be nullified, neither will it benefit the one who offered it. But instead, whatever soul will contaminate itself with such foods will be guilty of a betrayal. The flesh that has touched anything unclean shall not be eaten, but it shall be burnt with fire. He that is clean will feed on it. If a soul which is polluted will have eaten from the flesh of the sacrifice of peace offerings which is offered to the Lord, he shall perish from his people. And whoever will have touched the uncleanness of man, or of beast, or of anything which is able to defile, and who will have eaten from this kind of flesh, shall be cut off from his people. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Say to the sons of Israel, the fat of a sheep, and of an ox, and of a goat you shall not eat. The fat of a carcass that has died on its own, or of an animal that has been seized by a wild beast, you shall have for various uses. If anyone will have eaten the fat which ought to be offered as a burnt sacrifice of the Lord, he shall perish from his people. Likewise, you shall not take as food the blood of any animals at all, whether of birds or beasts. Every soul that will have eaten blood shall perish from his people. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, saying, Whoever offers a victim of peace offerings to the Lord, let him also offer at the same time a sacrifice, that is, its libations. He shall hold in his hands the fat of the victim and the breast. And when he will have offered and consecrated both to the Lord, he shall deliver them to the priest, who shall burn the fat upon the altar. But the breast shall be for Aaron and his sons. Likewise also, the right shoulder of the victim of peace offerings shall fall to the priest as first fruits. Among the sons of Aaron, whoever will have offered the blood and the fat, the same one shall also have the right shoulder for his portion. So then, the breast that is lifted up, and the shoulder that is separated, I have taken from the sons of Israel, from their victims of peace offerings, and I have given these to Aaron the priest, and to his sons, as a law in perpetuity, from all the people of Israel. This is the anointing of Aaron and his sons by the ceremonies of the Lord in the day when Moses offered them, so that they may fulfill the priesthood. And this is what the Lord instructed to be given to them by the sons of Israel, as a perpetual observance in their generations. This is the law of the Holocaust, and of the sacrifice for sin, and for transgression, and for consecration, and for the victims of peace offerings, which the Lord appointed to Moses on Mount Sinai, when he commanded the sons of Israel to offer their oblations to the Lord in the desert of Sinai. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take Aaron with his sons, their vestments, and the oil of anointing, a calf for sin, 2 rams, and a basket with unleavened bread, and gather together all the assembly at the door of the tabernacle. And Moses did as the Lord had commanded. And when all the crowd was gathered together before the entrance of the tabernacle, he said, This is the word that the Lord has ordered to be done. And immediately he brought forward Aaron and his sons, and when he had washed them, he vested the high priest with the linen undergarment, wrapped him with the wide belt, and clothed him with the hyacinth tunic, and over it he imposed the ephod, and tying it to the belt, he fitted it to the breastplate, on which was doctrine and truth. Also, he wrapped the headdress on his head, and over it, opposite the forehead, he placed the plate of gold, consecrated with sanctification, just as the Lord had instructed him. He also took up the oil of anointing, with which he anointed the tabernacle, along with all of its articles. And when he had sprinkled the altar 7 times to sanctify it, He anointed it and all its vessels, and the washtub with its base he sanctified with the oil, and pouring the oil over Aaron's head, he anointed and consecrated him. Likewise, after he had offered his sons, he vested them with linen tunics, and wrapped them with wide belts, and placed headdresses on them, just as the Lord had ordered. He also offered the calf for sin, and when Aaron and his sons had placed their hands upon its head, he immolated it, and drawing the blood and dipping his finger in it, he touched the horns of the altar all around, and when it was expiated and sanctified, he poured out the remainder of the blood at its base. Yet truly, the fat which was on the vital organs, and the mesh of the liver, and the 2 little kidneys with their fat, he burned upon the altar. And the calf with the skin, and the flesh, and the dung, he burned beyond the camp, just as the Lord had instructed. He also offered a ram as a holocaust. And when Aaron and his sons had imposed their hands upon its head, he immolated it, and he poured out its blood around the altar. And cutting the ram into pieces, he burned its head, and the limbs, and the fat in the fire, having first washed the intestines and the feet. And then he burned the whole of the ram upon the altar, because it was a holocaust of most sweet odor to the Lord, just as he had instructed him. He also offered the second ram as a consecration of priests, and Aaron and his sons placed their hands upon its head. And when Moses had immolated it, taking up some of its blood, he touched the tip of Aaron's right ear, and the thumb of his right hand, and similarly also his foot. He also offered the sons of Aaron. And when, from the blood of the ram which was immolated, he had touched the tip of the right ear of each one, and the thumbs of their right hands, as well as their feet, he poured out the remainder upon the altar all around. Yet truly, the fat and the rump, and all the fat that covers the intestines, and the mesh of the liver, and the 2 kidneys with their fat, and the right shoulder, he separated. Then, taking bread without leaven from the basket of unleavened bread, which was before the Lord, and a cake sprinkled with oil, and a wafer, he placed them upon the fat and the right shoulder, delivering all these to Aaron and his sons. And when they had lifted them up in the sight of the Lord, he received them again from their hands, and he burned them upon the altar of holocaust, because it was an oblation of consecration, as a sweet odor of sacrifice to the Lord. And he took his portion from the ram of consecration, and he lifted up its breast in the sight of the Lord, just as the Lord had instructed him. And taking up the ointment and the blood that was on the altar, he sprinkled it over Aaron and his vestments, and over his sons and their vestments. And when he had sanctified them with their vestments, he instructed them, saying, Cook the flesh before the entrance of the tabernacle, and eat it there. Likewise, eat the loaves of consecration, which have been placed in the basket, just as the Lord instructed me, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat them. Then whatever will remain of the flesh and the loaves shall be consumed with fire. Also, you shall not exit from the door of the tabernacle for 7 days, until the day on which the time of your consecration shall be completed. For in 7 days the consecration is finished, even as it has begun at this present time, so that the rite of the sacrifice might be accomplished. Day and night you shall remain in the tabernacle, observing the watches of the Lord, otherwise you shall die. For so it has been commanded to me. And Aaron and his sons did everything that the Lord spoke by the hand of Moses. Then, the 8th day having arrived, Moses called Aaron and his sons, and those greater by birth from Israel, and he said to Aaron, "Take a calf for sin from the herd, and a ram as a holocaust, both immaculate, and offer them in the sight of the Lord. And to the sons of Israel you shall say, Take a he-goat for sin, and a calf as well as a lamb, both 1-year-old and without blemish, as a holocaust. Take also an ox and a ram for peace offerings, and immolate them before the Lord, offering with the sacrifice of each one fine wheat flour sprinkled with oil. For today the Lord will appear to you." And so they brought everything that Moses had ordered before the door of the tabernacle, where, when all the multitude stood together, Moses said, "This is the word which the Lord has instructed. Accomplish it, and his glory will appear to you." And he said to Aaron, "Approach toward the altar, and immolate on behalf of your sin. Offer the holocaust, and pray for yourself and for the people. And when you have slain the victim for the people, pray for them, just as the Lord has instructed." And immediately Aaron, approaching toward the altar, immolated the calf for his sin. And his sons brought its blood to him, and dipping his finger in it, he touched the horns of the altar, and he poured out the remainder at its base, and the fat, and the little kidneys, and the mesh of the liver, which are for sin, he burned upon the altar, just as the Lord had instructed Moses. Yet truly, the flesh and its skins he burned with fire beyond the camp. He also immolated the victim of holocaust, and his sons brought his blood to him, which he poured out all around the altar. And when the victim itself was cut into pieces, they brought him the head and each of the limbs, all of which he burned with fire upon the altar, having first washed the intestines and the feet with water. And making an offering for the sin of the people, he slew the he-goat. And expiating the altar, he accomplished the holocaust, adding to it the sacrifice of the libations, which are to be offered together, and burning them upon the altar, separately from the ceremonies of the morning holocaust. He also immolated the ox, as well as the ram, as peace offerings for the people. And his sons brought him the blood, which he poured out upon the altar all around. Then the fat of the ox, and the rump of the ram, and the 2 little kidneys with their fat, and the mesh of the liver, they placed upon the breasts. And when the fat had been burned upon the altar, Aaron separated their breasts and the right shoulders, lifting them up in the sight of the Lord, as Moses had instructed. And extending his hands to the people, he blessed them. And so, the victims for sin, and the holocausts, and the peace offerings being completed, he descended. Then Moses and Aaron entered the tabernacle of the testimony, and afterwards came out and blessed the people. And the glory of the Lord appeared to the entire multitude. And behold, a fire from the Lord devoured the holocaust, and the fat which was on the altar. When the crowd had seen this, they praised the Lord, falling on their faces. And the sons of Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, picking up their censers, placed fire in them and incense upon them, offering in the sight of the Lord a strange fire, such as was not instructed of them. And fire coming out from the Lord destroyed them, and they died in the sight of the Lord. And Moses said to Aaron, "This is what the Lord has spoken. I will be sanctified in those who approach me, and I will be glorified in the sight of all the people." And upon hearing this, Aaron was silent. Then Moses called Mishael and Elzaphan, the sons of Uzziel, the paternal uncle of Aaron, and he said to them, "Go and take your brothers from the sight of the sanctuary, and carry them beyond the camp." And moving quickly, they took them as they lay, vested with linen tunics, and cast them outside, just as had been commanded them. And Moses said to Aaron and to his sons, Eleazar and Ithamar, "Do not uncover your heads, and do not rend your garments, lest perhaps you may die, and indignation may rise up over the entire assembly. Let your brothers and all the house of Israel bewail the burning that the Lord has kindled. But you shall not depart from the door of the tabernacle, otherwise you shall perish. For certainly the oil of holy anointing is upon you." And they did all things according to the precept of Moses. The Lord also said to Aaron, "You shall not drink wine, nor anything that is able to inebriate you or your sons, when you enter into the tabernacle of the testimony, lest you die. For it is an everlasting precept in your generations. And so may you have the knowledge to discern between holy and profane, between polluted and clean. And so may you teach the sons of Israel all my ordinances, which the Lord has spoken to them by the hand of Moses." And Moses spoke to Aaron and to his sons, Eleazar and Ithamar, who were remaining, "Take the sacrifice which remains from the oblation of the Lord, and eat it without leaven next to the altar, because it is the Holy of Holies. For you shall eat it in a holy place, which is given to you and to your sons, from the oblations of the Lord, just as has been instructed me. Likewise, the breast which is offered, and the shoulder which is separated, you shall eat in a most clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for these have been set aside for you and your children from the victims which benefit the sons of Israel. Since they have lifted up in the sight of the Lord the shoulder and the breast and the fat that is burned on the altar, these also belong to you and to your sons as a perpetual law, just as the Lord has instructed." Meanwhile, when Moses was searching for the he-goat which had been offered for sin, he discovered it burned up. And being angry against Eleazar and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron who were remaining, he said, "Why did you not eat the sacrifice for sin in the holy place, which is the Holy of Holies, and which was given to you, so that you might carry the iniquity of the people, and might pray for them in the sight of the Lord, especially since none of its blood has been brought into the holy places, and since you should have eaten it in the sanctuary, as was instructed me?" Aaron responded, "This day the victim for sin has been offered, and the holocaust in the sight of the Lord. But you see what has happened to me. How could I eat it, or please the Lord in the ceremonies, having a sorrowful mind?" But when Moses had heard this, he was satisfied